They declared war on a myth. Humanity answered in fire. Part 1: The Sleeping Giant. The galactic hegemony had ruled the stars for 12,000 years. 17 different species worked together under one flag, one government, one belief. They believed they were alone. They believed they were the only intelligent life in this part of the galaxy. They were wrong. Commander stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Eternal Dawn. She was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and 4 eyes that never blinked. Behind her, 200 warships followed in perfect formation. They were heading to a small yellow star at the edge of known space. A nothing place. An empty place. "Commander," said Lieutenant, her second in command. He was reading from an old data file. "There is something strange in our records about this system." Did not look at him. She watched the stars through the main window. What kind of strange? An old survey ship visited this system 3,000 years ago. They found a planet with life. The third planet from the star. Paused. They found animals there, bipeds, 2 arms, 2 legs. The survey classified them as pre-sapient, not intelligent. "And this concerns you, why?" Shifted uncomfortably. The survey ship also noted that these creatures were aggressive, unusually so. They killed each other in large numbers. The survey team recommended the planet be marked for future observation. Finally turned to look at him. Her 4 eyes showed nothing but boredom. "That was 3,000 years ago, Lieutenant. These creatures are probably extinct by now. They were killing each other even then." She waved her hand. "We are here to claim this system for the hegemony. Mining rights, colony sites, the usual work. There is nothing here that concerns me." Nodded and returned to his station. But something bothered him. He did not know what. He could not explain the cold feeling in his stomach. The fleet moved closer to the yellow star. When they passed the outer planets, strange things began to happen. Their sensors detected signals, electromagnetic signals, radio waves, millions of them coming from the third planet. "Commander," called the sensor officer, "I am picking up artificial transmissions, structured patterns. This is not natural." Frowned. "Show me." The main screen changed. It showed a blue and green planet covered with white clouds, beautiful in a simple way. But that was not what made 4 eyes widen. The planet was covered with lights. On the dark side, where there should be nothing but darkness, there were lights. Millions of lights, organized lights, city lights. "That is impossible," whispered. "The survey said they were animals, pre-sapient creatures." "Run a full scan," ordered. Her voice was calm, but her hands were shaking slightly. "I want to know everything about that planet, now." The scan took 30 minutes. When the results came back, the bridge fell completely silent. 8 billion life signs. Intelligent life signs. Cities covering every continent. Satellites orbiting the planet. Stations orbiting the planet. Ships moving between the planet and its moon. And weapons, so many weapons. They are spacefaring," the sensor officer said. His voice was barely a whisper. "Commander, they have warships. I count at least 300 vessels in orbit and around the system." Stood very still. For a long moment she did not speak. Then she straightened her back and made a decision. "It does not matter," she said. "We have 200 warships, the finest in the hegemony fleet. These creatures have been in space for what? A few hundred years at most. They are children playing with toys." She sat down in her command chair. "Open a communication channel. Standard submission frequency." Hesitated. "Commander, perhaps we should report back to the High Council first. This is a first contact situation. There are protocols." "I know the protocols, Lieutenant," cut him off. "The protocols say that any pre-spacefaring species must submit to hegemony rule. These creatures were classified as pre-sapient. The classification stands until the Council says otherwise. Open the channel." The channel opened. Spoke in the hegemony trade language, the language all civilized species used. "Attention, inhabitants of this system. I am commander of the Galactic Hegemony expansion fleet. Your system has been claimed for the hegemony. You will surrender all vessels and weapons. You will accept hegemony governance. Resistance will result in immediate military action. You have 1 hour to respond. She closed the channel and sat back. Around her the bridge crew waited. 1 hour passed, then 2. They are not responding, said. Perhaps they do not understand our language. Or perhaps they are afraid, another officer said. They know they cannot defeat us. Nodded. Move the fleet into orbit around the 3rd planet. If they will not answer, we will show them what happens to species that ignore the hegemony. The fleet moved forward. They passed the 4th planet. They passed a belt of asteroids. They approached the 3rd planet, the one the natives apparently called Earth. Then the response came. It was not in the hegemony trade language. It took the translation systems 3 hours to decode it. When they finally understood it, every officer on the bridge felt that cold feeling in their stomach. This is Admiral Park of the United Earth Defense Force. The voice was deep and calm, terrifyingly calm. You have entered sovereign human space without permission. You have threatened our people with destruction. You have made demands that no free species would ever accept. There was a pause. When the voice continued, it was harder, colder. We reject your demands. We reject your authority. We do not know you. We do not fear you. But you should know something about us. Another pause. We have been waiting for you, not you specifically, but someone like you. We have known for a long time that we are not alone. We detected your survey ship 3,000 years ago. We found the probe you left behind. We decoded your language. We learned about your hegemony. Felt her blood turn cold. We also learned what you do to species weaker than you. We know about the slave races. We know about the purges. We know about the species you have wiped out of existence because they would not bow to you. The voice grew even colder. We are humans. We do not bow. We do not kneel. We do not surrender. We fight. It is what we have always done. It is what we are built for. Your survey ship called us animals. Perhaps that is true. We are animals who have learned to use tools. We are animals who have conquered our world and reached for the stars. We are animals who have been preparing for this moment for 300 years. The channel went silent for a moment. Then the final words came. You came here looking for easy prey. You found something else. You found 8 billion humans who would rather die fighting than live as slaves. So let me give you some advice, Commander. Run. The channel closed. Sat in her chair, unable to move. Around her, the bridge crew stared at each other with wide eyes. Then the sensors screamed an alert. Contact, multiple contacts emerging from behind the moon. 40, 50, 60 vessels. They are moving to intercept. Looked at the screen. She saw ships unlike anything she had ever seen. They were not elegant or beautiful. They were brutal things covered in weapons, built for one purpose only. War. All ships, she commanded, surprised at how steady her voice sounded. Battle formation, prepare to engage. She had no idea that she was about to learn what real war looked like. She had no idea that within hours, she would understand why the humans had called themselves animals. And she had no idea that this day would be remembered forever as the day the hegemony made its greatest mistake. The day they declared war on a myth. They declared war on a myth. Humanity answered in fire. Part 2, First Blood. The hegemony fleet opened fire first. 200 warships released their plasma weapons at the same moment. The sky lit up with blue fire. The shots were aimed at Earth's orbital defense platforms, ugly metal structures that floated around the planet like guards. The plasma bolts never hit their targets. Something stopped them, something fast, something invisible. Small objects moving at incredible speed collided with every single plasma bolt. They exploded in space, creating beautiful flowers of fire that faded in seconds. What happened? Demanded. Why did our shots not connect? The weapons officer stared at his screen. His hands were shaking. They intercepted them, Commander. Some kind of defense system. They shot down our plasma bolts. Impossible. Plasma moves too fast to intercept. Not for them. Before could respond, the human ships attacked. They came from behind Earth's moon like angry insects. 60 ships against 200. Any sane commander would have stayed back, fought from distance, used their smaller numbers carefully. The humans did not do this. They charged. Captain Sora sat in the command chair of the Indomitable, the and largest warship in Earth's fleet. She was 43 years old. She had spent her entire adult life in the military. She had trained for this moment every single day since she was 18. All ships, she spoke into her communicator, close the distance, get in their faces, do not let them use their range advantage. Her tactical officer, a young man named, looked at her with worried eyes. Captain, their weapons have longer range than ours. If we get closer, we lose our only advantage. No, Lieutenant. Sora's eyes were fixed on the enemy fleet. Our advantage is not range. Our advantage is that we are not afraid to die. Now execute my order. The human fleet surged forward. On the Eternal Dawn watched with disbelief. What are they doing? This is suicide. They are throwing themselves at us. Should we pull back, Commander? Asked. No, hold formation. Let them come. When they get close, we will destroy them. But the humans did not die easily. Their ships were different from hegemony vessels. They were not graceful. They were not elegant. They looked like they had been built by people who expected to fight and die and take their enemies with them. Heavy armor, multiple weapon systems, backup systems for the backup systems. And their weapons were terrifying. The first human shots were not plasma. They were solid metal rods, accelerated to incredible speeds by magnetic rails. Kinetic weapons. The hegemony had abandoned such primitive technology thousands of years ago. The humans had perfected it. The metal rods punched through hegemony shields like they were not there. The shields were designed to stop energy weapons. They could not stop a solid piece of metal moving at a fraction of light speed. Ships exploded. Crews died. In the first minute of combat, the hegemony lost 10 ships. They are using kinetic weapons, someone shouted on the bridge. Our shields cannot stop them. Then increase shield power. Redirect energy from non-essential systems. It will not help, Commander. The weapons are too fast, too powerful. Then the missiles came. Hundreds of them launched from the human ships. They were not ordinary missiles. They carried nuclear warheads. When they exploded, they released fire hotter than the surface of a star. Hegemony ships died in groups of 3 and 4, caught in the nuclear flames. Captain Sora pushed her ship forward. The Indomitable was taking hits. Her shields were failing. Her hull was damaged. She did not care. Target their flagship, she ordered. Put everything we have into that ship. The Indomitable released a full spread of missiles, followed by a continuous stream of kinetic rounds. The shots tore into the Eternal Dawn. The great ship shuddered under the impact. On the bridge was thrown from her chair. Alarms screamed. Lights flickered. Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7. We are losing atmosphere. Engines are damaged. We cannot maintain position. Commander, we have lost 30 ships. The humans have only lost 5. Pulled herself back into her chair. Blood ran down her face from a cut on her forehead. She stared at the tactical display, unable to believe what she was seeing. They were losing. Against a species that had been in space for only 300 years. Against ships that looked like they had been built in a junkyard. Against creatures that the survey had called pre-sapient. They were losing. All ships, she commanded, fall back, full retreat, get us out of this system. The hegemony fleet began to turn, but the humans did not let them go easily. They chased the retreating ships, firing constantly, destroying any vessel too slow to escape. Lieutenant's cruiser was hit by a kinetic round that tore through the engine room. The ship went dead in space, drifting helplessly. "We are disabled," his engineering officer reported. "No engines, no weapons. Life support is failing." Closed his eyes. This was the end. The humans would finish them off. That was what any civilized species would do. That was what the hegemony would do. But the humans did not destroy them. Instead, a small ship approached, a boarding craft. It attached to the hull and heard the sound of cutting tools working on the outer door. "They are boarding us," someone said. "They want prisoners." Picked up a weapon. Around him, his surviving crew did the same. They would not go without a fight. The door exploded inward. Figures came through the smoke. They were wearing armor, full-body armor that made them look more like machines than living creatures. They moved fast, faster than any species had ever seen. Their weapons fired short, controlled bursts. His crew fell around him. In less than 2 minutes, it was over. Lay on the ground, his weapon knocked from his hand. One of the armored figures stood over him. The figure reached up and removed its helmet. It was a female, young. Her face was hard, marked with old scars. Her eyes were dark and cold. "I am Sergeant Han," she said. Her accent was thick but understandable. "You are now a prisoner of the United Earth Defense Force." Stared at her. Why did you not just kill us?" Looked at him for a long moment. Then she smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "Because dead prisoners cannot answer questions, and we have many questions." She grabbed his arm and pulled him to his feet. "Your war just started. Ours never ended. We have been fighting since we climbed down from the trees. You will learn what that means." She pushed him toward the boarding craft. Behind them, the battle continued. Ships died, crews burned. When it was finally over, the hegemony had lost 63 ships. Humanity had lost 12. Commander led her surviving fleet out of the Sol system. She did not look back. She could not look back. She had come to claim an empty system. She had found a nightmare. And somewhere in the back of her mind, she knew this was only the beginning. The humans would not stop. They would not forget. They would come for the hegemony. They would come with fire and fury and hate. And the galaxy would burn. They declared war on a myth. Humanity answered in fire. Part 3. The Myth Revealed. The news of the defeat traveled fast. Within days, every species in the hegemony knew what had happened. A fleet of 200 ships had been destroyed by a species that did not exist in any official record. A species that the old surveys had called animals. The High Council met in emergency session on their capital world. 17 species sent their leaders. They sat in a great circular chamber, surrounded by screens showing maps and data and images from the battle. Counselor was the oldest member of the council. She had served for 200 years. She had never seen fear like this in the chamber. "How is this possible?" demanded the representative from the insect-like. "We have ruled this region of space for 12,000 years. No species has ever defeated our fleets. No species has ever even tried." "These humans tried," another counselor said, "and they won." They did not just win. His voice was quiet but carried through the room. "They destroyed 63 of our ships. They captured 11 more. They did this with less than 100 vessels." She paused. "And they did not lose a single ship until we tried to retreat." Silence fell over the chamber. The military analysts presented their report. They showed images of human ships, human weapons, human soldiers. Each image made the counselors more afraid. "The humans evolved on a death world," the lead analyst explained. His voice was shaking slightly. "Their planet is not like ours. It has extreme temperatures, burning hot in some places, frozen cold in others. It has natural disasters, earthquakes, floods, storms that can destroy cities. It has millions of species that can kill them, predators, poisonous creatures, microscopic organisms that cause disease. He changed the image. It showed the history of humanity, wars, plagues, famines, disasters. They did not just survive on this world, they conquered it, they killed the predators, they cured the diseases, they built cities that could survive disasters, and they fought wars against each other. Endless wars. They have been fighting each other for their entire existence. So they are violent, said the representative. We knew this. The old survey mentioned it. You do not understand. The analyst's voice grew urgent. We have been at peace for 6,000 years. Our soldiers are ceremonial. Our tactics are ancient. We fight wars the same way we fought them 10,000 years ago. He pointed at the image of a human warship. They have been at war constantly. Their weapons technology advances every generation. They built these ships expecting to fight and die. They designed their armor to keep fighting even when damaged. They trained their soldiers to kill without hesitation. The analyst looked around the room. We are farmers who have forgotten how to fight. They are wolves who have never stopped hunting. On Earth, a different meeting was happening. The United Nations Assembly Hall was full. Representatives from every nation sat in their seats, watching the stage. On the stage stood two people, Admiral Park and Doctor. Admiral Park was everything a military leader should be. Tall, strong, calm. He had gray hair and hard eyes that had seen too much death. He had spent 50 years preparing for this day. Doctor was different. She was small, with gentle eyes and nervous hands. She had spent 30 years studying the stars, hopping to find friendly life. She had never wanted war. The enemy fleet has retreated, Admiral Park said, but they will return. They will bring more ships, more weapons. They will try to destroy us. A murmur went through the assembly. We cannot wait for them to attack again. We must strike first. We must take the war to them before they can prepare. Doctor stepped forward. Admiral, we know almost nothing about these creatures. We do not know their culture, their history, their reasons. Perhaps there is a way to negotiate. Perhaps we can find peace. Park turned to look at her. His eyes were not unkind, but they were firm. Doctor, I have spent my entire life studying war. I know what these creatures want. They came here to conquer us, to enslave us. Their first message made this clear. They see us as animals, as property to be claimed. He looked out at the assembly. You do not negotiate with someone who sees you as property. You do not make peace with someone who wants you dead. You fight, you win, or you die. The vote was taken. It was not close. Humanity would go to war. Lieutenant was young, only 28 years old, but she was already the best intelligence officer in Earth's military. She could speak 17 languages. She could break any code. She could find information that nobody else could find. Now she had a new job, interrogating the captured hegemony prisoners. She sat across from Lieutenant in a small room. He looked tired, defeated, but when he spoke, his voice was clear. You want to know about the hegemony, he said. I will tell you, it will not help you. Why not? Laughed, it was a bitter sound. Because the hegemony has trillions of citizens, thousands of warships, resources from 1,000 star systems. You have one planet, one system, a few hundred ships. He leaned forward. You won one battle. One. The hegemony has fought 1,000 battles over 12,000 years. They have crushed species larger than yours. They have destroyed civilizations older than yours. They will send a fleet so large that your sun will be hidden by their ships. Did not react. She simply wrote notes on her pad. You are afraid, continued. You should be afraid. Your species is dead. You just do not know it yet. Looked up from her notes, she smiled. It was a strange smile, calm, confident, almost gentle. You are wrong about one thing, she said. I am not afraid. Then you are a fool. No, she put down her pen. I am a human. We do not fear death. We fear living without freedom. We fear bowing to masters who see us as animals. We fear being slaves. She stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see the city, buildings, streets, people going about their lives. "You have been at peace for 6,000 years," she said. "You have forgotten what it means to fight for survival. You have forgotten what desperate creatures can do." She turned back to face him. "We never forgot. Every generation, we fought wars. We killed each other by the millions. We invented weapons that could destroy our entire planet. We looked into the darkness of extinction and we kept going." Her voice grew hard. "You think your numbers will save you. You think your resources will save you. But numbers and resources mean nothing against a species that would rather die than surrender." She walked back to her chair and sat down. The hegemony made a mistake. They thought they were attacking animals. They were wrong. They attacked humans, and now they will learn what that means. Stared at her. For the first time since his capture, he felt something other than despair. He felt fear. Not fear of death, fear of something worse. Fear of what humanity would do to survive. They declared war on a myth. Humanity answered in fire. Part 4, Fire and Fury. 6 months passed. The galaxy learned to fear a new name, human. Admiral Park stood in the war room of Earth's military headquarters. Around him, holographic displays showed maps of hegemony space. Red dots marked enemy positions. Blue dots marked human forces. 6 months ago, all the blue dots had been around Earth. Now they spread across dozens of star systems. "Report," Park said. Vice Admiral spoke first. He was a big man with a face and hands that had killed many enemies. "First Battle Group has destroyed the enemy supply bases at stations 7 through 12. Their forward fleets are now cut off from fuel and ammunition." Commodore Sora spoke next. She had changed in 6 months. Her eyes were harder. Her voice was colder. "Second Battle Group has taken out 43 communication relays. The hegemony cannot coordinate their forces. Their commanders are blind." Park nodded. "Good, and the Liberation Campaign?" Lieutenant stepped forward. She had become more than an intelligence officer. She now ran a network of spies and informants that spread across hegemony space. "The slave species are rising," she said. "When our Marines free their labor camps, they do not run, they fight, they join us. We have gained soldiers from 11 different species. They hate the hegemony more than we do." Park smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Then we are ready for Phase 3. Phase 3 was the most dangerous part of the plan. No species had attacked a hegemony core world in 6,000 years. Park intended to change that. Sergeant Han led her Marine company through the corridors of another slave camp. This one was on a small moon orbiting a gas giant. The hegemony used it as a mining facility. Thousands of slaves worked there, digging precious metals from the rock. They did not look like humans. They had 4 arms and gray skin and eyes that had never seen sunlight. They had been slaves for 3,000 years. They had forgotten what freedom meant. Until now. Kicked open the door to the main barracks. Inside, hundreds of slaves looked up at her with fear in their eyes. She removed her helmet. "I am Sergeant Han of the United Earth Defense Force," she said. The translator in her armor converted her words into the slaves' language. "The hegemony soldiers are dead. You are free." The slaves did not move. They did not understand. One of them, an old male with scars covering his arms, stepped forward. "Free. There is no freedom. There is only the hegemony." Reached into her pack and pulled out a weapon, a simple energy rifle that anyone could use. She held it out to him. "There is freedom now. Take this weapon, fight for it, die for it if you must, but never kneel again." The old slave stared at the weapon. His hands were shaking. Slowly, he reached out and took it. "What do you want from us?" he asked. Smiled. "I want you to remember something. Remember the name of the species that freed you. Remember humans. And when the hegemony falls, not if, when, remember who made it happen." Behind her, more Marines were handing out weapons. The slaves took them. Their eyes changed. The fear was still there, but something else was growing, something dangerous. Hoping. Counselor received the reports with growing horror. Human ships appeared without warning, attacked, and vanished before help could arrive. Supply lines were cut. Communications were destroyed. Colony worlds were liberated, their slave populations armed and turned against their former masters. "They fight like no species we have ever faced," one of her generals reported. "They do not follow the rules of war. They do not announce themselves. They do not accept surrender. They simply destroy." "Then build more ships," commanded. "Raise more soldiers. We have 1,000 worlds, they have one. We can bury them in numbers." And so the hegemony did. They built the largest fleet in their history, 2,000 warships, gathered from every corner of their empire. They would send this fleet to the human. They would end this war once and for all. Admiral Park received word of the fleet from the intelligence network. 2,000 ships, she reported. They will reach Sol in 3 weeks. Park studied the tactical display. 2,000 against 300. Any other commander would prepare to evacuate. Any other commander would seek peace. Park laughed. "They are coming to us," he said. "They are leaving their space, their supply lines, their advantages. They are walking into our home system, into our territory." He turned to his staff. "We have spent 300 years preparing for this. Every asteroid in our system is a weapon. Every moon is a fortress. Every piece of empty space is a trap waiting to be sprung." He pointed at the display. "Let them come. Let them bring their 2,000 ships. We will turn this system into their grave." The preparations began immediately. Mining ships dropped nuclear weapons into asteroid fields, ready to be detonated when enemy ships passed. Defense platforms were moved into hidden positions. Civilian ships were loaded with explosives and programmed to fly themselves into enemy formations. Earth itself became a fortress. Anti-ship batteries were installed on every continent. Underground bunkers were dug for civilians. Every man and woman who could hold a weapon was given training. Commodore Sora gathered her officers for a final briefing. "In 2 days, the enemy fleet will enter our system," she said. "They outnumber us 7-1. They think this means they will win." She looked at each officer in turn. "They are wrong. We have fought against worse odds throughout our history. We have faced extinction and survived. We have killed billions of our own kind in wars that lasted generations. We have looked into the abyss and spat in its face." She stood tall. "We are human. We do not surrender. We do not retreat. We fight until the last ship is destroyed, the last bullet is fired, the last breath is taken, and then we fight some more." The officers shouted their agreement. Their voices echoed through the ship. Far away, the hegemony fleet moved closer. 2,000 ships, confident in their victory. They did not know what was waiting for them. They did not know that they were flying into the most heavily defended system in the history of the galaxy. They did not know that every human on Earth, 8 billion souls, was ready to die fighting. They did not know that the Battle of Sol would be remembered forever as the greatest military disaster the hegemony had ever suffered. But they would learn. Oh yes, they would learn. They declared war on a myth. Humanity answered in fire. Part 5. Humanity answered in fire. The Battle of Sol lasted 11 days. Commander stood on the bridge of the new hegemony flagship, watching 2,000 warships enter the human system. She had been given command of this fleet because she had survived the first battle. The council thought she understood the enemy. She did understand them. That was why she was afraid. "All ships proceed with caution," she ordered. "The humans will have prepared defenses. Watch for traps." They found the first trap near the outer planets, a field of asteroids that had been moved into position. Hidden among them were nuclear weapons. When the hegemony fleet passed through, the weapons detonated. 30 ships died in the first hour. The fleet pushed forward. They found more traps, minefields that stretched for millions of kilometers, defense platforms hidden behind moons, automated drones that attacked in swarms, crashing themselves into hegemony ships and exploding. By the time they reached the inner system, they had lost 200 ships, and they had not seen a single human warship. "Where are they?" whispered. "Where is their fleet?" They found out near the fourth planet, the red one the humans called Mars. The human fleet emerged from behind the planet's two small moons, 300 ships against 1,800. Suicide odds. The humans attacked anyway. Commodore Sora led the charge. The Indomitable was at the front of the formation, its weapons firing constantly. She had given simple orders to her captains: close the distance, engage at point-blank range, do not stop firing until you are dead. Target their command ships, she ordered. Take out their leaders, break their will. The battle became chaos. Human ships dove into the hegemony formation, firing in all directions. They took horrible damage, shields failing, hulls breaking, crews dying, but they kept fighting. A human destroyer, its engines destroyed and its bridge on fire, continued firing its weapons until its reactor exploded. Watched in horror as her fleet began to fall apart. The humans fought like they did not care about dying. They rammed their damaged ships into hegemony vessels. They ejected their reactors and detonated them. They turned everything into a weapon. "Fall back to defensive formation," she ordered. "Concentrate fire on their largest ships." It was too late. The battle had become a close-range slaughter where hegemony advantages in range and precision meant nothing. The fighting near Jupiter's moons was the worst. Commodore Sora's battle group of 50 ships faced 300 hegemony vessels that had broken through the outer defenses. The battle lasted 12 hours. Sora lost 25 ships. The hegemony lost all 300. When it was over, Sora sat alone on her damaged bridge. Her uniform was torn. Her face was bloody. Around her, her surviving crew worked to repair what could be repaired. "Ma'am," her communications officer said. "Message from Admiral Park, he says. He says well done." Sora laughed. It was a tired sound. "Tell him we are not done yet. We still have ships. We still have weapons." She stood up. "And we still have enemies to kill." Admiral Park commanded the defense of Earth itself. When hegemony ships broke through the outer defenses and entered Earth orbit, he did not hesitate. "Launch the nuclear reserve," he ordered. Weapons that had been built during the darkest days of human history, weapons that could destroy cities, countries, continents, now flew into space. They struck hegemony ships with fire hotter than the surface of stars. The sky above Earth lit up with explosions that could be seen from the ground. But some hegemony ships got through. They began bombing the planet below. Cities burned. Millions died. The great towers of humanity's civilization collapsed into rubble. And still, the humans did not surrender. On the ground, civilians picked up weapons and manned anti-ship batteries. Old men and young children alike fired at the enemy ships above. They died by the thousands, but they kept firing. Admiral Park watched his planet burn, his home, his people, everything he had spent his life protecting. "Sir," an officer said, "we are taking heavy casualties. Should we consider surrender?" Park turned to look at the officer. His eyes were empty, not sad, not angry, just empty. "Surrender," he said. "Let me tell you something about humans, Lieutenant. We have a saying, better dead than slaves. It is not a metaphor, it is not poetry, it is a statement of absolute truth." He looked back at the tactical display. "We will fight until every ship is destroyed. We will fight until every weapon is empty. We will fight until every human is dead. And then, somehow, we will find a way to keep fighting." He sat down in his command chair. "Now get back to your station. We have a war to win." Sergeant Han led her Marine company in a desperate boarding action against the Hegemony flagship. They cut through the hull with plasma torches and fought their way inside, corridor by corridor, room by room. The fighting was brutal, close quarters, hand to hand. Killed 7 enemy soldiers herself, stabbing, shooting, breaking necks with her armored hands. Finally, they reached the command deck, kicked down the door and found Commander standing at a control panel, trying to activate the ship's self-destruct system. "Stop," said. She raised her weapon. Turned to face her. The commander's uniform was torn. Her face was marked with blood and burns. Her 4 eyes were filled with something had never expected to see. "Respect." "It is over," said. "My fleet is destroyed, my soldiers are dead, you have won." "Yes," said, "we have." Stared at her for a long moment. "Why, you are only one species, one planet, we have ruled for 12,000 years. How did you defeat us?" Thought about the question. She thought about her home, burning below. She thought about the friends she had lost, good soldiers who had died in fire and vacuum and blood. She thought about all the years humanity had spent preparing for this day. And she thought about what it meant to be human. "We are survivors," she said finally. "That is what we are. That is all we have ever been. Ice ages, plagues, wars, famines, we survived them all. We killed each other by the billions and still we survived. We destroyed our own planet and still we survived." She stepped closer too. "You thought we were animals. Maybe we are. But we are animals who learned how to fight. Animals who refused to die. Animals who looked at a universe full of enemies and said, 'Come and take us if you can.'" She grabbed arm. "You cannot beat us because we do not know how to quit. No matter how many of us you kill, there will always be more. No matter how hard you hit us, we will always get back up. No matter how hopeless things seem, we will always find a way." She pulled toward the door. "You declared war on a myth, on a species that should not exist, on creatures that were supposed to be animals." She smiled a hard, terrible smile. "And humanity answered in fire." The war ended 3 days later. Of 2,000 hegemony ships, fewer than 150 escaped. The fleet that was supposed to crush humanity had been destroyed. The empire that had ruled for 12,000 years had been broken. Doctor traveled to the hegemony capital as a diplomat. She went not as a beggar asking for mercy, but as a victor demanding terms. The treaty was simple. Recognize human space, free all slave species, never threaten Earth again. Counselor signed the treaty. She was the last surviving member of the original High Council. As she wrote her name, she looked at Doctor with tired eyes. "I have one question," she said. "You could have destroyed us completely. You could have taken our worlds, enslaved our people, done to us what we would have done to you. Why did you not?" Doctor thought about the question. She thought about Admiral Park, who had died defending Earth in the final hours of the battle. She thought about Commodore Sora, the most decorated hero in human history. She thought about Lieutenant and Sergeant Han and all the billions of humans who had fought and suffered and died. "Because we are not you," she said. "We know what it is to be conquered. We know what it is to be slaves. We have done it to ourselves more times than we can count. But we also know what it is to rise again, to build something new from the ashes of the old." She looked with something that might have been pity. "You brought fire to our doorstep. We answered with an inferno, but fire can do more than destroy. It can also light the way forward. It can forge something new." She held out her hand. "The war is over. Now we build peace. Not because we are weak, we have proven we are not weak, but because we choose to be better than what you feared." Stared at the offered hand. Slowly she reached out and took it. And so began a new era for the galaxy. An era where humanity stood among the stars, not as animals, not as victims, but as equals, as survivors, as a species that had looked into the darkness and answered with fire. The monument was built on the first anniversary of first contact. It stood in the center of the ruins of Old Geneva, where so many had died defending their world. On it were carved words that would echo through history. They thought we were animals. They learned we were survivors. They called us myths. We called ourselves human. And when they brought fire to our doorstep, we answered with an inferno that lit up the stars. Below that, in smaller letters, we do not forget, we do not forgive, but we choose to move forward. That is what humans do. That is what we have always done. And that is what we will always do until the last star burns out and the universe grows cold. The galaxy had changed forever, and humanity was just getting started. The end.